From the KOFI News Team, this is KOFI's Flathead News Weekly, covering the week's top headlines from Kalispell to Columbia Falls, Whitefish to Big Fork, and across northwest Montana.
The Flathead National Forest has issued an emergency closure for the Blankenship Bridge area due to rising water levels along the Flathead River. Officials say seasonal spring runoff, combined with recent rainfall and additional precipitation in the forecast, has pushed river levels high enough to submerge the access road leading to the Blankenship Southwest Gravel Bar. Forest managers say the conditions present a safety risk to the public and thus the immediate closure. The restriction will remain in effect until water levels recede and conditions are deemed safe for reopening. The Blankenship Southwest area is a popular river access and recreation site along the Flathead River, particularly during warmer months when water levels are typically lower. Officials urge visitors to respect all closure signs and barriers for their own safety and to avoid attempting to enter the area during the emergency order. More information can be gleaned by contacting the Hungry Horse Glacier View Ranger District Office. The Montana Department of Environmental Quality is continuing its response efforts in Lincoln County following recent windstorm and flooding events, with a focus on evaluating whether known contaminants may have been moved or exposed. As part of the ongoing recovery work, DEQ will host an open house in Libby next Monday for potentially impacted property owners. The event will run from noon to 7 p.m. in the Ponderosa Room at Libby City Hall, 952 East Spruce Street. Members of the Libby Asbestos Superfund team and other DEQ staff will be available to provide updates on survey and cleanup activities taking place across Lincoln County. Neighbors attending the open house will be able to ask questions, learn more about current assessment efforts, and sign up to have their properties evaluated for possible contamination related to the recent weather events. DEQ officials say community participation is an important part of the recovery process and encourage anyone who believes their property may have been affected to seek evaluation. Those unable to attend next Monday's open house can contact DEQ at deqlibbyasbestos@mt.gov for information or assistance. Officials also stress that if visible contamination is present, it should not be handled directly and should instead be reported to the Asbestos Resource Program. Additional updates on the recovery effort will be presented at the next Libby Asbestos Superfund Oversight Committee meeting. That is scheduled for next Thursday, April 23rd. Finishing touches were put onto the Foys to Blacktail Conservation Project earlier this week, which gives conservation protection to an 1,100-plus acre parcel next to Heron Park and expands what was once a 15-foot wide ridgetop trail corridor connecting Heron Park to Blacktail Mountain. As Tristan Scott reports in the Flathead Beacon, the property has been a central fixture in a vision that first came into focus 25 years ago when the Foys to Blacktail Trails organization formed, setting into motion a series of community-driven land acquisitions and grassroots trail projects that culminated in the Flathead Land Trust and its partners launching the Foys to Blacktail Community Forest Project, a landmark conservation initiative made possible with a critical property procurement from the Griffith Family Foundation. Located 5 miles from Kalispell, the property lies directly south of Flathead County's popular 440-acre Heron Park next to Foys Lake and will protect wildlife habitat while expanding recreational access. A Hungry Horse man accused of leading a burglary ring targeting homes across Flathead County for months was sentenced yesterday in Flathead County District Court. Michael Downing was convicted on 6 felony counts, including burglary and tampering with a witness or informant, and sentenced to 20 years in the Montana State Prison with no time suspended. Judge Paul Sullivan also ordered Downing to pay more than $325,000 in restitution to 10 victims. Under a plea agreement, prosecutors agreed to dismiss 7 additional felony charges. Flathead County Sheriff Brian Haino said Downing and other affiliates are responsible for more than 15 burglary cases across Flathead County since October 2024 that typically targeted seasonal homes that were vacant at the time of the alleged crimes. Investigators say stolen items included vehicles, construction tools, and equipment trailers, with total losses approaching $1 million. Alleged co-defendants James Ekfall and Dylan Olson still face charges in the burglary cases.
U.S. Senator Tim Sheehy was involved in an emergency landing during a routine flight training exercise in Montana. According to his office, the aircraft experienced a mechanical engine failure Sheehy and his co-pilot made a forced landing in a field near Ennis in Madison County. Neither pilot was injured. However, the aircraft did sustain some damage. The National Transportation Safety Board is expected to review the incident as a part of its standard investigation process. Sheehy is a certified pilot and flight instructor and regularly conducts training flights, according to his office.
The Milk River Project continues making progress. In year 2 of the 4-year construction project on the 100-year-old system, 2 of the major siphons are now completed. The St. Mary siphon and the Halls Coulee siphon, which was just completed the first week of April. Milk River Joint Board of Control Project Manager Jennifer Patrick called the completion of this phase a major milestone. A mild winter has been a godsend for workers, allowing crews to work consistently and putting the project ahead of schedule. The next siphon to be tackled will be at Kennedy Creek. Drinking and irrigation water from the Milk River is a lifeline for Montana's High Line, 120,000 acres on which sits 5 municipalities and a multitude of smaller communities, a wildlife refuge, and 2 Indian reservations, the Blackfeet and Fort Belknap. The target date for the entire Milk River project to be completed is mid-2028. The Montana Supreme Court has upheld a lower court injunction blocking a state law that defines sex as being male or female. In a 5-2 ruling, the court decided transgender Montanans can amend birth certificates and driver's licenses to match their gender identity. The case involves Senate Bill 458 from the 2023 state legislature that defines sex as based on biological sex at birth. 2 transgender women sued, arguing the law forces them to out themselves every time they show identification. The 2 dissenting justices on the state Supreme Court, Jim Rice and Corey Swanson, argued the court is forcing the state to issue falsified legal documents. The Montana Supreme Court's ruling is preliminary. A full trial remains pending.
Well, Central Montana woman is urging drivers to stay alert after she says she was followed and nearly forced off the road along Highway 191 on Friday night. Lizette Lamb says a pickup began tailing her after she left a gas station in Grass Range, eventually closing in and attempting to force her off the roadway near a hill section of that highway. Lamb says she was unable to call 911 due to limited cell service. She was, however, able to display a firearm inside her vehicle, after which the pickup turned around and left. Her husband reported the incident to the Phillips County Sheriff's Office. Authorities say similar calls have been received in that area, and the investigation is ongoing.
A 15-year-old boy made his initial court appearance in Missoula yesterday, where he denied negligent homicide in the shooting death of a 16-year-old girl last weekend. Missoula police officers were dispatched to an apartment on Alex Lane just after midnight Saturday morning for a report that a 16-year-old had been shot in the stomach with a Glock pistol. Court documents state the 15-year-old boy said he was playing with a gun while sitting on a couch when he pulled the trigger, striking the victim accidentally. She received medical care at the scene and was transported to St. Patrick Hospital, where she later died. The investigation showed the teens had been with a 19-year-old earlier that night who had the gun in his car. The 19-year-old and the minors consumed illegally procured alcohol just prior to the shooting. Missoula County Attorney Matt Jennings said the 15-year-old denied the allegations and bail remains set at $50,000. His next court appearance is scheduled for June 4th.
That's your Week in Review from the KOFI News Team. Stay connected with us for the latest news affecting the Flathead Valley and Northwest Montana by listening to this podcast, posted every Friday afternoon. Join us again next week for another roundup of the stories that matter to you.